All right, so we can officially start. I'd like to welcome everyone. Thank you for taking time from your busy schedule to be here with us. This is a part of our Career Week, which is a annual thing that we do. It's an annual event. Usually we would have you in our school. We would welcome you here, but because these are unprecedented times, we resorted to doing it virtually. So I'm very, very happy that everyone is here. It's so nice to see a lot of familiar faces. I myself graduated from Bayan 2002. Fatma Sarfi was my classmate and a very good friend. And Mariam Engineer, who's my colleague, graduated in 2015. So عبارة إن إحنا we came back home. نفس ما يقولون. So let us introduce you officially, and then inshallah we can go from there. Go ahead, Mariam.
Okay, so Mr. Isa Masih graduated from the class of 1995. He holds a master's degrees and MBA from DePaul University, USA, and a Bachelor of Commerce from Concordia University in Canada. He is also a chartered financial analyst, CFA, and a professional risk manager, PRM, carrying 23 years of banking experience. He is now the Group Chief Risk Officer at the National Bank of Bahrain and Acting Compliance Officer. Additionally, he is a board member representing NBB on the Bahrain Islamic Bank Board. Johara.
Fatma Sayrafi, graduate of the class of 2002. Fatma holds a master's degree in business administration. She's also an alumni of the International Institute for Strategic Studies in the Manama Dialogue Young Leaders Program. With over 15 years of experience, she was newly appointed as Deputy Chief Executive Officer at the Bahrain Tourism and Exhibition Authority. Prior to this, she worked on establishing the National Communication Center.
Nabras Talib, graduate of the class of 2003, Masters from DePaul University in Science and Human Resource Management, highest recognition of Masters at DePaul University. He is currently Assistant Undersecretary for Commercial Registration and Companies at the Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Tourism. Prior to that, he was the Director of Business Process Reengineering at the Ministry of Finance and National Economy.
Marwa Saad, graduate of the class of 2006. Mrs. Saad holds a master's degree in Human Resources Management from Purdue University. With over 10 years of experience, she joined Mumtalakat in November 2019 as Head of Human Capital. Prior to joining Mumtalakat, Mr. Saad worked for General Mills, Cummins Power Generation, KPMG, Tatweer Petroleum, and most recently YBA Kanu Holdings.
Sara Al-Kawari, graduate of the class of 2006. Ms. Al-Kawari holds a master's in public management from Aix-Marseille University with over 10 years experience. She was recently appointed as the director at the National Bureau of Revenue. Prior to this, she worked at the Ministry of Finance and the National Economy.
And last but not least, Amna Al-Arayad. She's a graduate from the class of 2009. Ms. Al-Arayad holds a bachelor degree in economics from Bentley University and a master's degree in environmental economics from the London School of Economics. She joined the office of the first Deputy Prime Minister in 2015 as research analyst and was recently appointed Assistant Undersecretary for Research and Study at the Prime Minister's Office. This department is His Royal Highness's Briefing and Policy Unit. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for being here. So the first question that we would like to ask you is who or what inspired you to pursue this career, and how did you get started? Should we start from? Does anyone want to take the lead?
I wouldn't mind.
I could. I mean, if you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, first of all, thank you all for this amazing event. Thank you to the chairperson. Thank you to the Board of Trustees and the organizing committee. It's always good to be back with the school, albeit virtually, and obviously joined by my fellow alumni here. Now, just jumping straight to it, what inspired me to go into pursuing my career? It's actually a combination of things. There's always the family influence, the surrounding, uncles, aunts, involved in the banking industry, banking sector. I actually also do remember certain occasions during the economics classes in school, when we were talking about various topics, supply and demand. I mean, I was always intrigued by how the financial system was working and how it was functioning. So it felt like a natural transition for me in terms of pursuing a career into banking. But what really pushed me into it, and I guess pressed the button, was when I took, it was a summer job in a family office, and I was completely new to investments in banking, stocks, altogether. I remember I was sitting in front of a Bloomberg terminal at the time and seeing all these charts, seeing all these data points, all these news links. It just intrigued me and fascinated me. And I think I was hooked from that point onwards, basically.
Should we go by class? Fatma, do you want to?
Yes, absolutely. I'd like to thank the Bayan community for organizing this event. And I think that those sessions are very important for us as an alumni and also for the current students to basically shed more light on the opportunities that are available. So thank you so much for organizing this. So you asked a very interesting question, Johara, because when I look at my career path, I started at the private sector in the banking field, mainly in private equity and real estate. And I worked for a period of time in the United States, in Philadelphia, in one of the Fortune 500 banks, which was before the subprime mortgage was Wachovia Bank. It's now Wells Fargo. And the reason why I decided to make this career shift from the private sector to the public sector was when we constantly engaged with our international investors. There is one certain aspect of Bahrain that always came about when we had any discussion, that Bahrain is underestimated when they're looking at what it has to offer, specifically in terms of its image, in terms of its communication, and in terms of tourism, which is where I am today. So that made me do that career shift and decide that maybe moving to the public sector would add more sentimental value to my career, which is exactly what happened. And I was very fortunate to be one of the people who played a lead role in establishing the National Communications Center, where our main mandate was to unify government messaging and also to build that international stakeholder relationship moving forward and create that image of Bahrain on a political, economical, and even social and cultural level. So to me, that aspect of building the image for the Kingdom of Bahrain is what triggered the career path that I'm currently in. And after spending a good 8 years in building and working in the National Communications Center, that's when I decided to make that shift to the tourism industry, where we can further build that brand and image of the Kingdom of Bahrain.
Thank you, Fatma.
ما سمعنا عن شخصية الجوهرة.
اي بس عرفت قلتي اسمي لا؟
صح.
Yeah, okay. Hello again to all of you and everyone listening. I'm just gonna go ahead and jump right through it. Sometimes inspirations come midway because, frankly speaking, during the time I was a student, during school and even college, there were three areas I never saw myself working in. One of them is banking, the other is the government. I ended up working in both. I'm not going to mention what the third one is. But during the time I was in the private sector and I was working in a bank, the GFH, I also started my own business. And here's a little story. I was in the waiting line at the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. It wasn't tourism back then. There was no tourism in the ministry back then. And, and I saw there was like a lot of opportunities to change. I went through an experience and I thought that we could do better. And I remember sitting there praying that, Allah puts me in a position to change all of that, to make things better. That was a general prayer. 2 years after that, I get a call from the office of the Deputy Prime Minister. First project I work on has to do with commercial registrations. And then 6 years after that, I'm getting this position. So it's about, feeling that, you can improve certain areas, certain aspects. And to me, standing there in that waiting line, I knew we could, if I'm given the chance, I would want to change how things are, make it better for others, not to go through the same experience that we are. So basically, it's like you're on a boat and you steer your ship towards a certain location, but end up in a different island. And you just have to adapt to it, accept it, and try to make the best out of it.
And we'll go back to that because I feel like that is something that a lot of people go through. As you said, with the boat, and just life takes you somewhere. You like kind of plan something, but then, God has other plans. So I think the students need to be aware that this is something that they could face in the future. Marwa?
First of all, I wanted to just thank you again and really like to express my sincere appreciation to Sheikha May Al-Ataibi for her dedication, her vision, and leadership. And I think her dedication is what made today possible for all of us. And as I look at the different alumni and the panel, I feel extremely privileged because these are people that I've looked up to when I was going to school. Now I'll jump right into the question on what inspired me to pursue a career in HR. People end up in HR. People fall in HR. They don't plan to be in HR. I've always wanted to be a soccer player or a football player or whatever you want to call it. But I was given this advice by my dad that this is a hobby and not a career. And this is a very, very painful experience as a teenager to have to choose between two. Now, one of the things that I sort of realized is that the key thing about wanting to do HR is making people's life better. Seeing people's lives improve both personally and professionally is extremely rewarding. And if I can play one small part in helping someone find a job, develop a skill, progress in a career, find their passion, add value, be valued, then I've added something to this world. And I think this is what makes this experience extremely rewarding, is truly playing an integral part. You often hear that, people are the most important asset in a company. And I think that is not a cliche. It's actually true. Businesses don't serve people, employees serve people. Businesses don't make products, employees make product. And so I know you're going to ask me this question towards the end of the session, is there an outlook for this industry? What's the outlook? What does the future look like? And I think as long as there's people in the world, this is one function that's going to remain forever. So a short answer is it's truly rewarding once you start, a career in HR. You can see your impact immediately on people's life, both personally and professionally, and that's been the rewarding part of my career.
Thank you, Marwa. Sarah?
إذا تسمحين لي أختي الجوهرة، أنا أفضل أن أنا أتكلم بالعربي. يعني أمانة هو جزء عود اللي خلاني، يمكن أنا I want to be aligned ويا the rest of the team، لأن أنا أمانة اللي خلاني من البداية أحدد مصيري إنه أنا كان فضول. أكثر شيء كان خاطري أعرف إنه شنو معناته إنه أنا أشتغل في القطاع الحكومي. يمكن إحنا حق جيلنا كان أكثر شيء كنا نسمع إنه والله هذه في البانكينج سيكتور، والله هذه حاليا ذي البنك هذه البنك مثلا حقق هالكثر أرباح. فكنت أسمع يعني التداولات اللي كنا نسمعها، كنا نعرف إيش قاعد يصير. فجزء عود مني كان فضول إنه لين أنا أتحكي عن القطاع الحكومي شنو ممكن الكونتريبيوشن مالي يكون. فأول ما انخرطت في الجهاز الحكومي، طبعاً أنتي تبتدين you will always find a challenge، بس at the end of the day مع الليدرشيب اللي كانوا عندي والإكسبوجر اللي حصلته، شغلي بديت أشوف وين قاعد يوصل. يعني مثلاً تطلع قرارات تشوفين هذا القرار نزل ولا هذه الخطوات اتخذتها الحكومة، فتحسين wait I contributed into part of هاي اللي صار. فكان إحساس حلو أمانة، وتمنى ويبلد. وكل ما يطلع قرار، أنا يعني أمانة كنت في الإيرادات، فكل ما تطلع قرارات أحس إنه والله was part of هاي القرار. وحتى كان المانجمنت يوصل لنا هذه الإنجازات اللي إحنا كنا نسويها. فدائما كنت احس روحي جزء من ذي الفريق اللي now I know what they're talking about لان يتحكون ان احنا ممكن نعطي في القطاع الحكومي or what type of contribution ممكن ان انا اعطي في الدوله. هني عرفت، وبالعكس حسيت انه ولا قد فكرت امانه ان انا حتى اغير المجال مالي.
That is beautiful, Sarah. It's such a moving thing that you just said. And last but not least, Amna.
Thank you, Jahra. I think my answer would be pretty much aligned with what Sarah just said. I've been working in the government sector.
why I decided to do that shift. and يعني انا دائما يعني دائما حتى ويا التعيين الجديد لما اي حد يبارك لي دائما اقول لهم ان هذه التعيين تكليف وليس يعني هو تشريف، لكن تكليف اكثر من ما هو تشريف. يعني احنا مكلفين ان نبني صورة مملكة البحرين. And during my time at the National Communications Center and in my current job, what I realized is the biggest challenge is to maintain that momentum, to maintain that drive, and to find different opportunities that you can expand on to build that image about your country. And as most of you know, in the tourism contribution in our GDP is around 6.8%, and it was a few years back around 3.5. So we did come a long way, and one of our main plans in the BTA is to increase that number in the next coming few years. And that's a huge challenge. I wouldn't see it as a barrier, it's a huge challenge. And as you all know, with every challenge comes a huge opportunity. So I'm very much looking forward to realizing that opportunity, as I'm sure the rest of my colleagues in their posts are as well.
Maybe I can jump in here now to my fellow alumni. Just picking up on a few of the comments that Marwa also alluded to. I mean, a career path is bound to have some bumps on the road. It's a journey. The key is that you always have to look forward. These are all experiences, be it good or bad, you learn from them. And you pick up from these individual instances and try to improve on your character, improve on your skill sets, persevere, keep on pushing and looking forward. If you expect that things are going to be pure flat, let's say upward trajectory, I mean, that's unlikely to be the case. You'll always see ups and downs. But the key aspect is to look at them as experiences, and you can always gain from experiences. Again, I emphasize, be it bad or good experiences. In my case, if I look back over the past years, one of the first setbacks, or let's say upsets, that I had was that I was expecting to go through a particular training program. I was all mentally geared up, excited, looking forward to it, and this was my first opportunity as well. But then things did not materialize. The direction changed. The outcome was that, no, this is not the right time for you to go in this particular program. Initially, I took that very hard. But reflecting on it, obviously, a certain door closes, another door opens up. It's a question of how you handle that situation. You keep on pushing, you never give up. I mean, perseverance and a positive attitude is going to get you through it. And look back at these bumps in the road. I mean, it's a long journey ahead of you. These are all opportunities to learn from and build on your character, build on your experience, and improve upon your individual performance to be able to take advantage of all future opportunities.
And Nibras or Amna, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, sure. طبعا مثل ما سمعتم من الاخوان والأخوات barriers can come يعني in many different forms types يعني في بعض barriers you learn from you try to learn how to remove them, improve your skills, get better at it, etc. وفي barriers اللي مثل ما يقولون إن you have to accept them and you just have to learn how to live with them. يعني على سبيل المثال يعني just في ناس for example مثلي أنا when it comes to for example accounting, finance, أرقام, mathematics خلاص المخ يجيم no matter how much يعني أحاول أتعلم وكذا كذا I can learn to an extent لكن you still have to accept the fact إن في بعض الأمور كل واحد وقدرته لكن هنا at the same time أنت تفكر how you can maneuver around this and you might find someone اللي هو فهمان في الشغلة فشلون تقدر تستعين فيه دائما في ناس بتكون هناك تساعدك فلازم انت تفكر بهالطريقه وساعات في بعض الباريرز تكون يمكن ناس تحشيها في مخك يعني بالذات اذا بتنتقل من مكان لمكان من سيكتور لسيكتور واكيد هاي بتسمعونه انه لا تروح مني هذه اللي ترى ناس تحفر لك ناس بتسوي لك دا فتزرع في مخك هالباريرز وهذا الشيء يعني بيصيدكم اتوقع كل من سمع يمكن هالحكي والكلام انا نصيحتي يعني keep your head down لان انا سمعت هالحكي وناس تحاول تزرع في مخك هالباريرز انا بالنسبه لي you know I go do my job keep my head down اركز في شغلي اركز على روحي اللي يبي يحفر اللي يبي يسوي اللي يبي يحاول يعيق طريقك sure go ahead يعني بس يعني انت ركز في روحك ركز في شغلك واللي الله يكتب ان شاء الله كله خير لك دام انت تسعى ودام نيتك زين انك يعني سواء يعني تخدم نفسك تخدم المجتمع تخدم غيرك just keep your heads down ولا تخلي الناس هي اللي تحط باريرز حقك.
Johara, if I can just, the Amna بعد تسمح لي, if I can just add on what Nibras said, because he touched on a very important point. موضوع إن there will be people around you that put setbacks for you. I can't agree more on that. And I just want to share a very quick experience that I had. When I decided to make the move from the private sector to the public sector, that's one of the first things that people around me told me. And the closest of people, we're talking about even family members, that basically, Fatma, what you're doing with the decision that you made is the wrong decision. Going to the public sector will not add as much value as the private sector. And just like Nibras said, I kept my head down, did my job, created opportunities for myself. I started as a senior researcher in 2012 in the Ministry of, back then it was the Ministry of State for Information Affairs. And today I am the Deputy CEO in Bahrain Tourism and Exhibition Authority. So that just gives you proof that the public sector, as well as the private sector, but the public sector has so much to offer. And I'd really like through this platform to correct that misconception about the public sector, because it really does have a lot to offer. And I hope that more people will consider the many opportunities that the government has to offer.
I wouldn't consider this a barrier as much as it was a challenge for me. When I graduated, I joined what was then the Office of the First Deputy Prime Minister in the research team. And I was the youngest member there. We were relatively a young team, but nonetheless, I was the youngest. So it was challenging for me to kind of prove myself and to show the team that, you know, age doesn't really matter. And as my colleagues Nabras and Fatma mentioned, you know, I put my head down, just did what I had to do, and slowly but surely, I was able to prove myself and get to where I am today. So my advice is, regardless of your age, don't think of that as a barrier, because you can come in with fresh ideas, with that drive and motivation, and that energy, and exert it and just put it in your work. Give it all you have, and it will take you places.
Thank you very much. I'd like to go ahead with that piece of advice that you gave, and I would like to ask you, what advice would you give to in your respective careers? So what would you say that they can, how can they pursue a job like yours, basically?
Sorry, you cut off for a bit. Can you repeat that, please?
Sorry. So basically, what would your advice to a high school student wanting a job in your career be?
I think trying your best in whatever it is that you do is the number one thing that I would consider. I think you prove yourself by not only trying your best, but also seeking help from others, trying to learn, trying to grow. Look at a task as a challenge, and think of all the different ways that you can achieve that task, and learn from others. I think surrounding yourself by individuals who can feed your knowledge, feed your career path. That's one of the most important things. So it has a lot to do with the people you surround yourself with, the questions that you ask, seeking help. There's nothing wrong with that, and trying to grow within yourself as well.
Thank you.
John, if I can,
yes, of
John,
course.
if I can just go next, because I think I'm going to say a few things, and it's a good segue to the points that I've sort of drafted for this question. You know, I think committing to being a lifelong learner is extremely important, because formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. And individuals who spend time developing themselves, expanding and adding more tools to their mental toolbox is extremely important. So I really encourage everyone to commit to being a learner, because learning doesn't stop. It's not after you complete an exam, or after you graduate from high school, or after you graduate from college. It's constant. And there's so much to be learned, and a lot of experience, and so much to do, and so much to be explored. ومعظم الأجوبة أو المشاكل اللي احنا نواجهها اليوم موجودة في إحدى الكتب، وفي مليون ألف كتاب موجود في العالم. I don't enjoy reading, but I enjoy what I get out of reading, and that's why I read. The answer is in one of those books. Number one is commit to being a student forever. Number two is never waste a summer. Never waste a summer. أي وقت فراغ عندك ترى يدخل فيه الشيطان. فتحمل يكون عندك an empty slot أو تكون ما عندك شيء. لأن أنا سمعت I listened to a podcast. Podcast كان يقول when you have free time you do two things. Two things happen. You either spend money that you shouldn't be spending, number one, or number two, you start doubting yourself. فخلك مشغول, خلك busy. I've used the summer to intern, to volunteer. Last but not least, which I know is kind of tough, but disconnect from social media. And I know it's tough, but I've done it. You cannot find me on Instagram. You will never find me on Snap. You'll never find me on Twitter. You'll never find me anywhere. And WhatsApp was recent because My boss gave me 24 hours and my employment was contingent upon me getting on WhatsApp. بس trust me لا تنشغل في الناس، شغل في نفسك. وهاي الادفايس بعطيك اياها صعبة شوي في ذي العمر وفي ذي العصر اللي احنا عايشين فيه، بس if one can do it, everyone can do it.
Thank you, Marwa. Very valid points. Is there anything anyone else wants to add? Any advice you want to give our students?
Let me jump in, Johara, and I want to share a piece of advice that I wish someone gave me back when I was a teenager. And that's always to all the students who are listening in our session today. Always follow your passion. And I do not mean that in a cliche way. Whatever you are passionate about, wherever you see your career to be in the future, you should follow it. Personally, I never wanted to be a banker, but unfortunately that was imposed on me by the human or social conditioning around me, if that makes sense. And surprisingly, I was very good at what I did. And I ended up getting a fellowship in one of the best banks back in 2007 in Philadelphia. But I was never completely happy because it was never my passion. The moment where I decided to do that shift, that's when the fulfillment came. So my advice to the students, follow the career path that you see or you feel you are passionate about, and don't let society dictate where your career should be led. And I can't emphasize that enough.
Is there something anyone else wants to add, or should we go to the next question?
Okay. If I may add.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking from my perspective, like I work in the what we call the public service. إحنا نخدم المجتمع. إحنا نخدم البحرين. And for you to be in this, or any line of business or sector you want to be in, or career, you're gonna have to really want it. And be satisfied with it. Do something that you believe will satisfy you, and in turn help others. إذا أتكلم عن نفسي، أنا كنت في البانكينج sector for a while and as someone that tests, you make good money, you have a lot of time to travel, you spend time with the family, have other businesses, and then came that opportunity to move to the government sector at an office where you're given the opportunity to change, to make a change. And and when I made that decision, I remember talking with my wife, and she said, like, why would you want to give all of that away, take a pay cut and all of that? And I was like, because reaching the end of my 30s, I felt like I haven't done enough, and for me what I get satisfaction out of is helping others, making things better. That was a genuine feeling that I had at that time. And to me, to move to a place where I genuinely want to help people, I genuinely the projects I work in, the place I'm in, it's customers in and out, thousands by the day. And to me, that's not a burden. To me, people want help, and I feel that I'm built for that. I'm made for that's my purpose. And if you feel that your purpose is in such an area, then go ahead and pursue it, and be happy about it. But just keep in mind one thing, and it's very important. It's not about how the high grades that you get. It's not about getting all these scholarships. It's not about being the smartest, the student of the year, blah blah blah. It's not about that. It's just gimmicks that it's nice to have, nice to please the parents with it. But if you don't have it, that's okay. Just keep in mind that you need to pace yourself and be patient. Nothing's gonna come from the first day. You're gonna have to work for it. Some people will get it quickly. That's good for them. Some of them they have to work harder for it. Then that's just how life is. But pace yourself. Do not overstress yourself. If you work hard for it, it's gonna come. Hopefully, if it's good for you, if it's meant to be. But do not overstress yourself. Find the fun factor in what you do. If you don't, then either just do your best or find something else that will make you happy so that you make others happy.
Maybe just a few more words, Johara, if you allow me, just to my colleagues here. I think going back to what Fatma mentioned, following your passion is crucial here. That might be difficult to figure out or put a finger on from the outset, as it is deciding on a career path at this juncture, but try to follow your heart. If you have a passion for a particular thing, pursue it. Try to figure out what you're best at. I work in a bank. Now, I ended up in risk management. That was my career path. Did I plan for it? Not really, no. I always wanted to go into banking, and I got the opportunity to join an Islamic bank when I first started my career. But what I have realized over time is that it is the experiences that you build that actually go with you. So as you go through your university journey, if you're looking to go into banking, and I have colleagues with me in the bank who've got various degrees, engineering, you've got business degrees, you've got all sorts of degrees who've ended up in the financial institution I'm at. But try to maximize the experience you go through at university. It's not just your courses. I mean, you've got your major, you've got your minor. Try to partake in as many activities as possible. Join societies, push yourself, go out of your comfort zone. All of these experiences will build up. It will help you in your character. It will broaden your perspective. It will give you more clarity in terms of what you want to do. The more you experience, the more clarity you will get.
إذا تسمحين لي أختي الجوهرة، أنا بس عندي مداخلة بسيطة. يمكن أنا بتفق مع أخوي نبراس. أنا ما بكذب عليك، أنا يمكن كنت المتفوقين في المدرسة، فأنا قاعدة أقولها وأنا يعني كنت I was an A student. بس بصراحة أمانة يا بها صح أخوي نبراس، أنت اليوم المدرسة تعطيك شيئين، عندك الشق اللي هو له دخل في النولج، وعندك الشق اللي هو له دخل في السكيلز. فانت النولج مالك اوكي، انت بتستفيدين من النولج، بس انت ركزي على السكيلز، لان السكيلز هو اللي اليوم بيوصلك مكان. يعني احنا اليوم اللي دشينا لان انخرطنا في قطاع العمل، انت عندك اشياء لازم تنمينها. انت ريسيرش سكيلز من وين تجيبينها؟ من الاديوكيشن بيس مالك. اذا الاديوكيشن بيس مالك قوي، انت اليوم بتعرفين شلون تبتدين الريسيرش مالك، بتعرفين شلون بتسوين البنش مارك، بتعرفين لان انت اليوم حضرتي اجتماع شلون يو بريزنت. طبعا هذه يلعب دور الاكسبيرينس والاكسبوجر، هذه كلها يلعب دور، ولكن ان انت شلون يو بريبير ا برزنتيشن، هاو دو يو ديليفر ذا مسج، شلون انت تتكلمين، الجستشر شلون هذه كلها احنا ترى تعلمناها من وين؟ من المدارس. وبعدين شوي ايش سوينا؟ نمينا ذي المهاره، دشينا في قطاع العمل، استخدمنا ذي المهاره حق قطاع العمل. فانت دائما ركز على السكيلز وشوف انت شلون تبي تنمي ذي السكيلز، وهو اللي بيوصلك في النهايه. طبعا انا شلون how do you spot a person who is مثل ما نقول له مستقبل، has a future. مو لانه شاطر، ترى مو انت ولا تشوفين السي في ماله ما باي بقول والله هذه ياب جي بي اي 4 هذه باخذه. اوكي، انت شلون بتحددين انت لين خدتيه شنو الاسئله اللي قاعد يسالها. انت عندك نوعين من الناس اللي يشتغلون، عندك الشخص اللي بيخلص لك الشغله بس ما يعرف ايش قاعد يسوي، عندك الشخص اللي بيخلص لك الشغله ويقدر يتخذ قرارات. القرارات هني اللي تحتاجينها، لان الشخص اللي يدش في التكنيكال مع الوقت يبتدي he develops the idea how can I improve this technicality. asking the right questions can help you improve processes, can help you bring ideas, can help you develop. فانت ارضي فضولك، انت اللي انخرطت اليوم شفت اشياء انت مو فاهمها، ترى مو عيب تغلط. انت اذا غلطت اليوم بتشيل روحك باكر، ولكن تقولون ساره قالت عادي تغلط، لا، اذا غلطت لا تعيد الغلطه. فانت اليوم اذا غلطت باكر لا تعيد نفس الغلطه، انت تعلمت من الغلطه وباكر ما بتعيدها، وبالعكس يول ديفلوب، بتي باكر وبتعطي افكار جديده، بتطور، بتقترح، لا تستحي انك تطور، تقترح هذه الاشياء اللي ممكن توصلك في نهايه اليوم. هذا اللي كان عندي الصراحة.
Thank you very much. Due to the time constraints, we'll start moving to the questions from the audience. One of them was there any resistance in dealing with different mindsets and old schoolers? And if yes, how did you manage getting over them? Who could start? Nabras, maybe?
Yeah, sure. As maybe Amli Arayth can attest to this, but just work, the place I work in, I'm not going to say hard-minded people, but different backgrounds, different orientation. Everyone has a different mindset. And like when I work in these like re-engineering projects, when you re-engineer, you're not really talking about like a system or a process alone. You're talking about changing the culture of how you deliver a certain service or initiate a product. And so of course you're going to deal with opposing people and minds. وهذه شوية بلا شطارة يعني لازم بعد ما تكون, you have to be acceptable. You have to understand that if people are opposing you, they're talking either from their own experience and background. So there isn't really like a let's say a golden ticket answer for it. It really depends on the person you're dealing with. Bottom line, you just have to be respectful of it. Try to understand the person. Try to understand why he's opposing you in that area. يمكن هو اللي معاه الحق, يمكن أنت الغلطان. بس yes, يعني أنا personally, like day in day out, that's what I deal with. But I don't know. To me, I'm not gonna call it. And to me, it's fun. And again, I honestly enjoy it. But you just have to through the skills and knowledge that you've gained by being prepared all the times, by trying to understand the person that you deal with. You come to a meeting, you need to know who you're dealing with. You need to understand try to understand his background if you can. If so, you try to move the personal matter out of it. يعني don't make it personal. مختلف معك بنقطة, that's okay, that's fine. Again, it comes with the gimmick. But you also just have to be respectful of it. Try to focus on the business itself. لأن في الأخير ترى I'm sure النية هي المصلحة العامة. You just have to, it's gonna take a lot of time, a lot of meetings. ساعات أنت يمكن you have to take a strategic retreat. يمكن أنت ما تنفع معك اليوم. Come back after 1 month, come back after 2 years. أنا في أمور اليوم مشت يمكن كنت أتعايى عليها literally 5 years. And then in like 5 minutes, because of the circumstances, قدرت أمشيها literally in 2 minutes. It takes time and يبي لها شطارة. That's why, I mean, the more you interact with people, don't be afraid and you interact with people that oppose you and their ideas. بالعكس, go ahead. You will learn skills بالتعلم عقب فترة شلون تتعامل مع مختلف الأنواع من الناس. Complicated question, but inshallah يعني that's try to simplify the answer.
Thank you, Nubraz. Would you like to answer the question next?
Well, I'd like to jump in, مريم إذا تسمحين.
Go ahead, تفضلي.
على صعيد شخصي, my advice is يعني the law of average kicks in here. لأن you are the average of the 5 people you spend time with. على صعيد شخصي. فlook at the 5 people that you're spending time with وأنت الأفرج. إذا قعدت مع 5 مليونيري أنت السادس. إذا قعدت مع 5 readers أنت السادس. بس إذا قعدت مع 5 whiners فأنت السادس. فعلى صعيد شخصي the law of average kicks in. كونوا مع مجموعة positive, كونوا مع على صعيد شخصي لأن I know there's an inner voice that comes in and makes you doubt yourself. فعلى صعيد شخصي make sure إنه you surround نفسك أو نفسك مع ناس أفضل منك أو ناس عندهم results اللي أنت أو أنت تتمناهم. أما على صعيد professional, my advice is to be empathetic. You have to lead with empathy. Empathy means إن أنا أحط روحي مكان هذا الشخص اللي قدامي جاي من بيئة معينة, جاي من ثقافة معينة, comes in with his or her own experiences, and I لازم في لحظة من اللحظات I'm able to shift وأحط نفسي مكانه وأقول أوكي ليش اللي قدامي قاعد يتكلم معي بهالطريقة أو ليش مو مقتنع. It doesn't get easier, you just need to get better. And one of the things that I'd encourage everyone to do is, again, going back to working on yourself. You have to be more convincing. You have to be a better problem solver. And for you to do that, you're going to have to work on yourself. بس be empathetic. هذه نصيحتي للجميع. be empathetic. حط روحك مكان الشخص وصدقني at the end of the day it's العلاقات. And you really want to focus on building those relationships. Again, I read something somewhere where it said everyone is somebody's precious child. فتذكر كل مرة you interact with someone ترى هذه ولد أو بنت أحد وعزيز على الأم وعزيز على الأبو. فبي empathetic. هذه نصيحتي. People who are empathetic and passionate are those who make it to the top levels.
Okay, so let's go to our next question from the audience, and that is, what would you say is the most important quality for a leader in today's world, or what does it mean to be a leader?
إذا تسمحين لي أختي الجوهرة.
تفضل.
Being a leader, you won't develop leadership over a year or two. Being a leader, it's a multiple years of experience. فإن أنت تكون leader لازم تتخذ قرارات. أنت يعني اليوم تنحط في موقف إذا أعطيتك ذي المشكلة، شلون بتطلعني منها؟ شنو الحلول اللي عندك؟ فأنت ممكن تتخذ قرارات. الشيء الثاني that makes you a good leader واللي أنا وايد أثني عليه إنه شلون تخلق لك صف ثاني. يعني إحنا عندنا وايد leaders يعني they're leaders but they don't have a second line. Not being able to create the second line doesn't really make you a good leader, because a leader when you're not there in your absence you have followers who can take over. فأنت لما يكون عندك صف ثاني ممكن إنه هو fills in your shoes, that's when you're a good leader. أنت اتخذت قرارات، أنت نميت مهارات في الفولورز اللي عندك على أساس إن هم ياخذون مكانك باكر لأن أنت طلعت إجازة، لأن أنت طلعت ليف، لأن أنت حتى رحت انتقلت ولا حصلت أي تعيين. اليوم أنت رحت أي أحد ممكن ياخذ مكانك. ترى هذه مو تهديد. يعني في ناس ما تحب doesn't like to share the knowledge لأن على أساس إنه مثلا شخص ما يطوفه ولا مثلا ما بهذا الشخص باكر يحسون أحسن مني. لا بالعكس. ترى people will recognize that this person was able to have 5 lines who can actually fill in these shoes. باكر إذا الشخص طلع إجازة ما يوقف الشغل. هذا شيء وايد مهم. و people will recognize that ترى إن هذا الشخص والله قدر يسوي من فلان شخص ممكن يتخذ قرارات في حين غيابه فما يوقف الشغل. بالنسبة لي هذا هو التعريف الرئيسي حق الليدر.
Johara, I'll jump in. Maryam, Johara, if you don't mind. بس let's use some math شوي حق اللي يحبون الماث. أنا بالنسبة لي attitude is what sets a person apart. If you had, and this is an equation, right? So if you had 10 out of 10 من ناحية knowledge و 10 out of 10 من ناحية skills بس أنت صفر في attitude, you multiply anything by 0 you get 0. فلوش كثر كان عندك skills, لوش كثر كان عندك knowledge, what I've seen in my past 10 years of experience, those who distinguish themselves are not those who do well in their job, but those who demonstrate the right attitude, the whatever it takes attitude to get things done. And they demonstrate potential to do more. فattitude يا جماعة ركزوا على ذي الكلمة, and this is what sets people apart.
I think one other element, Johara, of an effective leader, just to complement my colleagues, is to be able to be perceived by your other colleagues as a leader, to have that ability to listen, to understand people, to manage people, and to gain their respect. Now, with that, once you gain the respect, the trust, and the confidence of the people, having the clarity and vision to move forward towards achieving a certain goal is what is required. But without the ability to manage and gain the confidence and trust of a team, no matter what you do, it's going to be very difficult for you to lead a team, an entity, an organization to a successful path.
I just want to build on what Isa mentioned, because I think it's a very important part of being a leader. And I can't reiterate enough that building that trust with your subordinates and followers in an organization is key. If you reach a point in your career where you have your team follow you just out of curiosity, I think that's a major measure of success. Building that trust will take you from one level to another. So I think that that's a key component in being a leader.
Is there something anyone else would like to add?
Just very quickly, just also keep in mind, and Tara, leading a group of people can be different than leading another. ده نحطه في بالكم. Always understand who you're trying to manage or lead. That's all.
Okay, well, those were our questions. We would like to thank everyone here. But if before we go, is there any other remarks that someone wants to make or anything that you want to say?
Maybe just one statement. I mean, your career path is a journey. Enjoy the bumps, enjoy the ups and downs, learn from the experiences, and just continue to drive with the passion and positive attitude.
Just maybe بس أضيف على اللي قاله أخوي عيسى. I think it's وقتك في البيان is وقت ثمين. And now that I look back, it has really played a prominent role in my career. This is not only a wonderful school, but it's a world-class school. للأمانة أنا اليوم when I sit here and I look at CVs, and part of my role is to draft in talent. الناس اليوم من البيان مختلفين. I only have a bias for performance and competence, but trust me, those who come from Bayan are different. And again, I feel blessed to have had the opportunity to attend and graduate from this wonderful school. ومشكورين وأتمنى للجميع النجاح.
أنا إذا تسمحون لي أضيف على كلام أختي مروة, and I know that me and Marwa, we had this conversation maybe a year and a half ago. فعلا إن مدرسة البيان, and I'm not just saying this because I spent 14 years in Bayan. There's a reason why I spent 14 years in Bayan, because that's when I and my parents realized, especially during the senior years, that it's not just a school that builds your knowledge and builds your skill, it builds your character. And I can't even count the number of times that I've been in a meeting or an interview, before walking outside the door, I'd get asked, are you a graduate of Bayan School? And they haven't, when I go into meetings, people haven't even seen my CV. So when I say yes, the answer is always the same. Bayan School graduates have a certain characteristic. We know you the minute you walk into the door, and that just speaks volume of what that school adds to your character, adds to your knowledge. And all the students who are watching this now, all of you should feel very lucky that you're part of this, I wouldn't say even school, this community that helps you realize your potential.
إذا تسمحين لي أختي الجوهرة، أنا بثني على اللي قالوا مروة وفاطمة. أنا خواتي اليوم في البيان وبنتي اليوم في البيان. فيعني أنا بقول لك شيء ما بقوله من منظوري أنا، لأن مهما كان أنا بايست، أنا من البيان. أنا مسؤولتي يمكن عندها طبعاً مروا عليها طلاب من كذا مدارس، بس جاتنا وقالت لنا شيء والصراحة تم مأثر فيني. تقول لي أنتوا في البيان شو يسوون فيكم؟ اللي تطلعون هاللون تتكلمون بكونفيدنس وتعرفون وكل شيء سهل أشرح لكم وتبردون على القلب. فهذه الكلمة اللي قالتها لي، وصراحة عندنا كوليجز بعد من البيان في الشغل، فكونها قالتها لي فأنا طالعت ماي كوليج وقاعدة أقول I can depend on her الصراحة. Now I can see from where she developed the skill. فنرجع في النهاية إن البيس هو اللي يقوي السكيل مالك، هو اللي يوصلك وين أنت فيه.
أنت ورط الحين. أقول هذا بنت ورط.
شكله منشن، بس أنتي مو في السوشيال ميديا. ما بضايقك، أنا في السوشيال ميديا.
Oh, alhamdulillah. One of the visions of our executive director, Dr. May, is to develop students to be well-rounded individuals in society. That is actually probably number one in our mission statement, basically, is to have well-rounded students that are not just book smart, but they are career-driven, they are socially intelligent, confident is also a big one. فالحمدلله, and you guys are saying that even from before, and because we keep reiterating that to our students, and now they can see the results. الحمدلله ما شاء الله كل واحد في منصبه يعني الحمدلله. This is a great thing.
I can't add anything more. ما شاء الله كل واحد فيكم متميز في المجال اللي هو فيه. Each one of you is a real Bayan gem. Thank you very much. Thank you, Isa. Thank you, Fatima. Thank you, Nabraz. Thank you, Marwa. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Amna. And thank you to everyone who has been watching this live today. Hopefully it was a successful one. You were able to gain as much information as possible. Inshallah, we meet you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
يعطيكم العافية.
الله مع السلامة.